Welcome to A Coleman Conversation. I'm Bob Coleman, Charles Rho, President of VelocitySBA. We are in your office, a new look for the Coleman Conversation. Thank you for hosting us.
Yeah, great to have you guys here.
VelocitySBA, non-bank lender, top 50 in the country for a number of years. Tell me about VelocitySBA.
Well, VelocitySBA, as you know, we're a non-bank SBA lender focused on nationwide footprint. We started the business about 8 years ago, and I've been president and a board member since that time. And we've had the good fortune of just growing the business over the year, headquartered in California, and just expanding the footprint, adding some really dedicated, passionate industry experts to the team, and just trying to grow the business safely, prudently, year over year.
Well, very good. You have an excellent reputation in the industry.
Thank you.
Also, normally I want to talk about being a SBLC in capital issues that you're not a bank, but your average loan size isn't as eye-popping as some of your competitors. You're under $1 million, which
Right.
means you're also committed to the smaller loans.
Right. Yeah. No. So we're pretty much focused on originating loans that are needed by our borrowers, and we don't specifically chase after small or large loans. We review every transaction that comes in, and it just happens to be, I think we're fairly average in terms of when you look at some of the acquisition transactions that we're focused on, whether it's real estate or even business acquisition, and we kind of hover in that about $1 million range. But we really see loan sizes from about $350,000 to about $4.5 million sometimes on the larger end. But ultimately, a majority of our transactions kind of tend to be in that $600,000 to about $1.5 million or so, in that range.
When you and I talk next year, you're going to say from $350,000 to $10 million?
$10 million, hopefully.
Tell me how you feel about that.
No, that's great.
Tell me how you feel about that as an executive of an SBA lender, knowing full well that those higher loans, you're going to have a higher risk,
Sure.
but a different type of borrower. Tell me about what your strategy is to be prudent, manage risk, but also getting capital out to Main Street.
Right. So first of all, I don't see a difference in how I would look at, from a credit perspective, a $3 million loan versus, for example, an $8 million loan. They have to make sense. You have to underwrite them prudently. During my career, my commercial lending experience spanned from doing small business loans all the way to the largest loans that exist in the marketplace, with average loan sizes about $2 to $3 billion. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to is your lending credit practice and your underwriting guidelines. And for me, the current SBA loan size maximum limitation of $5 million, that was set, as you know, from 2010. Since that time, it has really not taken into effect the cost of inflation, the rise in real estate price, rise in equipment pricing. There's a lot of firms out there who are in that less than, I would say, size-wise to be considered a middle market, but really still a small business. But these are high growth companies in manufacturing, et cetera, that require some additional lending. And I think there comes some additional sophistication in those credits, and borrowers with greater strength as well, which should qualify them for SBA and for a lender like us to be able to manage that risk.
Well, good for you. Now, I want to make sure I heard you right. You said $2 billion with a B.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And
yes.
this, I assume you were at GE Capital.
Yes. I was at GE Capital.
Okay. Well, tell me how you went from there to SBA.
Yeah. To make a long story short, roughly about a 20-year career at GE Capital. Started out being a sales guy for SBA.
For SBA?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
and I'm going to date you. So
yes.
This is back in the 90s,
yes,
right? Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Very good.
Back in the late 90s, and fresh coming out of USC MBA program.
Fight on.
And,
sorry, Bruin fans. Anyway, go ahead.
And, for me, it was my first time being in sales. Great company. Prior to that, I was running an SBA department. Prior to that, I was trained as a credit person. But to the opportunity to join GE Capital, get on the sales side, did very well. Quickly kind of got on the GE Capital's, I guess, recognition board for potential future leader. And
Well, they were right.
well,
Anyway,
thank you. And I was really fortunate to be with a company where they recognize certain individuals and they try to invest in those individuals through training and job opportunity where they cross-train you. And so I was able to transition from SBA to other commercial lending space, commercial finance space, and ultimately ended up going from SBA all the way to leverage finance, which is the largest loans that exist in commercial finance.
Nice.
And back then, our average loan sizes were typically about $2 billion or so.
why the transition back to SBA?
Well, I think it's interesting, and some of my close friends have heard this story, but I'll share that with you.
Please.
And it really came down to a conversation that I had with a mentor of mine from GE, and also something that I had been exploring on my own with respect to questioning the success that I had in my career up to that point, which was about a 20-plus year career in commercial lending, and thought, have I been successful because of the logo or the GE brand, or was it because
Of Charles
potentially
Rho.
it's me?
Yeah.
And some might say, it's what you would consider to be professional midlife crisis, not personal, but professional. And I really wanted to do something entrepreneurial to answer that question in my mind, not in anybody else's mind, but in my mind. And decided to venture out outside of the big corporate world, Fortune 500 company structure. And I asked my mentor, I said, John, I'm going through this, and what do you think? And he said, well, Charles, what job did you have throughout your career that inspired you the most, that where you felt like you were most happy and excited to report to work every day? And I said, without even thinking, I said SBA. And he said, why? And I said, because we absolutely make a difference.
Excellent.
When you originate a $2 billion loan to a big corporation, it's thank you, and that's about it. When you do a $200,000 loan to a small business owner, it is probably the most important event, one of the most important
In their
events
life, yeah.
in their life. And you possibly change the trajectory of that business owner and their family for generations to come. And it was very rewarding for me to see the impact of this 7A program on our small business community. And that's ultimately what drove me to be here 10 years ago, decided I'm going to get back into SBA lending.
What a great story. What a great answer. I thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. President of the non-bank lender, GE sales background, that's as good as it gets.
Absolutely.
How does that translate to you now that you're in the C-suite on working with your BDOs?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think about this actually a lot. And as a president, you wear multiple hats every day. You wear your finance hat, accounting hat, legal hat, sales hat, credit hat, et cetera, et cetera. The most enjoyable for me is the sales hat. And the reason why that is not only the impact of what you do with our customers, but in reality, everything we do on a corporate C-suite level is really about the customer experience. It's really customer focused. It's not about us. It's not about the board. It's not about management. What we do on a daily basis and how we interact with those customers and how we impact our customers. And for me, sales is frontline to that. You need to understand your customer. You need to figure out what product is the right product. You need to understand, are we structuring this properly for this customer's need? You're always working with a customer focus, and I think that has really translated for me as I climbed up in the corporate ladder to always remember what we do and have customers focus at the very top of what we think about every day and really build a business around that.
Very good. That's a good answer, and obviously the success that your organization has dwells down from that management philosophy. Tell me a little bit about an SBLC, SBA lender with the big challenge, another hat that you have is your capital base.
Yes.
You can't go to the Fed and borrow at the teller window, the discount
Correct.
teller window.
Right.
Tell us about your challenges and how you manage that process.
Right. Yeah. I think it really starts with foundationally, who is your investor and the source of that capital. And for us, we have a very good fortune with the fact that we have an investor base, we have a board that is focused on long-term growth, long-term capital infusion. They're not operating with a 4 to 5 year exit window. They really aspire to be, or classifies themselves almost to be, a mini Berkshire Hathaway type of model, where they provide capital for well-operated businesses and to grow those businesses into the future. And we have a wonderful board with that philosophy, and because of that, everything we do on a daily basis revolves around building a long-term franchise. And so the capital is there. In addition to the capital, then we can leverage that long-term capital for revolvers or lines, warehouse facilities, which we have very good partners on that support us, and that's how we finance the business.
Great. The reason why you and I are talking is you want to now wear another hat.
Yes.
You're running for a position of director on the trade organization NAGGL.
Yes.
Tell me why you're doing that.
Well, I think it's very important for NAGGL to be the voice for all lenders who are participating in the 7A program. And certainly I've had a long career in commercial lending, commercial finance. Majority of that experience has been in the SBA, and that's where my passion is, as I've indicated earlier. And I want to give back. I feel like I have the expertise. I feel like I have the passion. And I think when I speak to you today, and I think I'm speaking hopefully for a majority, if not all, of the NAGGL board members, is that the 7A program is really a critically important, pivotal program for us in supporting the small business community. And that is why I'm running, to share that passion, to make our trade organization, NAGGL, stronger. I believe we can do a lot more. I believe that the SBA 7A partnership with the agency SBA and NAGGL, this program could be even bigger, stronger going forward. And I'd like to be a part of that and help our membership as part of a board member.
You mentioned the borrower experience and working with entrepreneurs, a lot of first generation
Absolutely.
immigrants that are able to create generational wealth and being involved with that. That is a difficult process for that entrepreneur to go through and get a loan.
Yes.
What would you, as a NAGGL board member, what would you like to see happen to make that process a little bit easier for the entrepreneur?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. Before I answer that question, I will start by saying we're trying to address that here at Velocity SBA, right? So if you think about our name, it's Velocity SBA. It's one word.
I like it.
It's not two separate words, it's one word. And the reason why I had decided to name the business Velocity SBA is because you take the word SBA, and typically that customer experience historically has been, boy, it's really document heavy, it's cumbersome, it's slow, it takes too long. And you take the word velocity, which is kind of complete the opposite, isn't it? Which is speed, momentum, efficiency. And I wanted to combine that and bring velocity philosophy into the SBA, right, process. So what we do really well here is we transact with the customer experience in mind, and we try to transact on those deals as efficiently and operationally, I guess, in the most expedient way, so that the customer at the closing table is happy versus being upset, which we hear a lot, right? We go interview these lenders, have you gotten an SBA loan, what do you dislike? Boy, it just, and there's a lot of complaints, right? But I do think with the agency, with the NAGGL, the trade organization, I think there's a lot we can do to help expedite this process. And one of the answers that I provided on the NAGGL questionnaire for the board of directors, the nominees, is that, for example, there's one aspect that I like to highlight. There is tremendous amount of data that is collected by the SBA and other agencies, but there's not much leveraging of that data. It is not shared. It is not transparent. It's not open. And from an agency and a trade organization perspective, we should leverage that data to identify areas where we can improve, leverage that data to direct lenders to certain areas, avoid certain areas, leverage that data for policymakers to program, right, to benefit the program further, and also leverage that data with technology that are up and coming, AI tools, etc., to really make the process much more efficient without giving up prudent underwriting.
Excellent answer. Charles Rho, President, Velocity SBA. Good luck on your
Thank you
election.
so much. Thank you.
And I enjoyed the conversation.
Appreciate the time. Thank you so
very
much.